Hey everybody, this is Scotty with Sketchy's Garage, and today we're working on the Green Chevelle. We're going to be doing some jam work. We're going to be painting the back side of the doors and the trunk lid. You might be asking yourself, the other day we painted the back side of the fenders, the hood, and the inner fenders. Why we didn't just do it all together. One of the main reasons is we're trying to keep this stuff as clean as possible to keep our wet sand, our cut and buff to a minimal. So the smaller batch that you do, the less of a cloud you'll build up in the area that you're spraying. So it usually tends to turn out cleaner for you. And then that's pretty much well it. We're going to talk a little bit about how to attack what you're painting. Whenever painting stuff like this, you want to look at it and ask yourself, what part of the panel do you want to be the nicest or the slickest? And whenever you determine that, whenever you go to spray your clear coat, spray that area last. That way it stays wet the longest. So for example, on this door, if you're going to paint this door, I would clear the top half, or this area right here first. Then I would go ahead and run the bottom. Then I would run this area. And then finish off at this area. And my philosophy on that is, one, this up here, you're not going to see it because it gets covered with the door panel. This right here, you'll see it a little bit if you're up underneath the car or whatever. This right here is pretty much well kind of hid too. But this area right here is definitely the high visibility part on the door. So you definitely want to make this look as nice as possible. It's just one of the details whenever you're painting a car that'll make all the difference in the world. I've seen some really nice cars and they open up the doors and they just look hideous. I don't even know why a shop would let them leave like that, but that's just one of the things I try to do on every job to make it look a little bit cleaner, a little bit better. This trunk lid right here, see how we got all bends and folds and everything like that? I'm actually going to try a new technique on clearing it today. So you guys can check it out and we'll see if it worked out or if it doesn't work out. Alrighty guys, we're going to base this out. Okay everybody, we're going to put the base coat on. We're going to put one light coat of base coat and then 2 medium coats. The other day we was spraying at 15 psi at the cap, and we'll repeat that to keep our variances down to a minimal. Okay guys, we're going to let this slash off for about 15 minutes or so. I do want to have a quick chat with you. When we start our second coat of base, that'll be a good time to come in here and make sure we get all the harder edges to get. Go ahead and get them wetted out and get them where they got good coverage. Also, your bolts, I always like to stick my bolts back in and paint them with the panel. That way we know where they're at. You just got to make sure you get up underneath them good, and then get to the other sides of them. You see how the back sides don't have coverage on them? When we do the second coat of base, we'll make sure we get them areas covered up pretty good. And then also, when you got a panel like this where you got stuff in behind it, go ahead and get your paint blown in, down and around, back in there on the second coat. You don't want to do it on the final coat because you don't want this area to be laying wet, because it's going to affect the way when it dries out it might look a little bit funny. To whereas if you do it on the second coat, it's going to give it time to flash off, and then when you lay down your final coat to even it out, it'll look nice. Okay, we're going to let this flash off and we'll be back in a few minutes. Okay everybody, we're ready for our second coat, but before we do that, we're going to hit them areas that I was talking about before. I'm going to show you how to turn the gun down to a tighter fan to where you can get them areas easier. Really simple. Just take, see how our fan's probably at about 12 inches, starting there to there. Take and turn this down. So now we're at about 3 inches. So whenever you do that, it takes and increases the pressure at the cap, so you always want to adjust for that. So you take and turn the pressure back down a little bit. Alright, we're going to go ahead and get this shot up. Okay everybody, take a look, see how we got coverage on all of our corners now, and how this outer ring is darker. Don't worry about that. The next two coats of base will help even that out, and you'll never even notice. If you was to wait to the last coat to do this though, you might have a problem with it ending up darker here and lighter here, just because that area would stay wet longer. So it's better to do it in between your first and second coat to get all your corners covered. And on your first coat of base, it took a while for me to realize this, but you don't really want to spray it wet. You just want to spray just a nice even, kind of like a mist coat, just enough to where it's just barely starting to cover. You try to spray it wet, it just opens up all kinds of cans. We'll let this sit for about 5 minutes, and then we'll come back and put our second coat of base on it. As you can see, we got up in them holes the best we could. You know, it's hard to get paint to turn a corner, so you just gotta kind of play with it. I've never been able to understand why the primer gets in there so good and blows everywhere, but the color does not. So you just take and shoot it up in there the best you can, and hopefully it's good enough. Alright guys, we're gonna let this flash off and we'll be back. Alright, we're gonna let this flash off for about 45 minutes to an hour, then come back and clear it. Okay everybody, we put a first coat of clear on it. I had to make a choice between filming the first coat or the last coat. I decided to film the last coat. As you guys can see, it's looking pretty good. It's really hot today, so we're getting a little bit more nib than I would like, but we'll just do what we got to do. I think on the trunk lid, I said I was going to try a new technique, or new to me anyways. I think I'm going to put 2 light fast coats on it at a diagonal. That way we can keep from getting corners dry, because if you spray it one way, half of it will look nice and slick, and then you'll get dry spots on the edges. I don't know if I can really find a good example of it, but kind of like right there, you'll get a spot like that to the other side. So what I'm going to try to do is hit it with 2 fast coats, just one way and then the next one the opposite way, and see if I can't get it to all flow in there nice and wet and level out. Let's get to it. think that looks, that'd be fine for jams. I think it looks pretty good. I'm not too sure about the deck lid. We're going to give it a couple minutes and see if it levels out any. It still looks a little dry to me. It almost looks like all of it's a little dry. So if it doesn't level out, I'll go ahead and put another coat of clear on it and just deal with it the best I can. Alrighty guys and girls, thanks for watching.